Back Pocket Creative. This is episode 8. So I just want to say I've been going on for 8 weeks now, and I've had a lot of support, a lot of great things said, and I appreciate if you've listened, watched any amount of the episodes. I appreciate it greatly, and it's been cool just to hear feedback from different people and whatnot. And honestly, I've been extremely busy lately, so that's why I haven't really had guests on at this point. My plan is in the new year to start bringing on guests, just because my schedule is pretty crazy. If you don't know, about to welcome a new child into our family in the beginning of the new year. And so a lot's been going on, and my traveling is coming to an end pretty soon. So at the time of this recording, next week, I will be doing my last out of town trip until the baby comes. And so probably a little bit after that. And so I have been traveling to different places and helping different churches and things, or clients in different ways. And it's been fun. And it's one of those things where I greatly enjoy it, and I will be looking forward to getting back to doing that. I enjoy what I do here at the studio and what I do with our local church here, but it is fun to go to different environments and get to see what they're doing, and get to kind of dive into their creative process and learn their creativity and their environment, and also be able to give of myself into that, and the different parts and stuff that I bring to the table. And so it's been fun. And so one of the topics that I think kind of came to my mind with all the traveling, with about a week ago, traveling and doing a pretty big project, pretty large, I'd say, project, that probably one of the bigger projects I've done lately, in terms of length of the video, and also I guess the scale of filming and the scale that we did. And it was cool because, so kind of what I want to talk about is kind of spawned off of that, and the project that I'm going to go help with this week. And so I guess the hard thing with being creative is sometimes feeling adequate to make suggestions in an environment that you aren't totally bought into, right? And I guess as a creative, we can almost have imposter syndrome when we are in different environments on our own. And I think it also goes to show that sometimes we can be in environments that are our own and still have an imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome just is simply, and if you're creative, you probably know it. It's just, I don't belong here. What I have to say, what I have to do, my craft isn't worth bringing to the table, just not because of someone doesn't want you to bring it to the table, but that, they know better, they do better. So a lot of times when I've gone into certain environments, and this is since I really got into being a creative and kind of helping others and doing things, I saw myself limit myself in new environments. And what that did was it limited what I had to bring to the table. And it ultimately got to a point where I had to check myself, because I think false humility is something that leads to imposter syndrome, where you're like, well, I don't want to do this, or I don't know if my place is to say X, Y, Z. And, a lot of times what I had to learn was all you have to do is ask. So if you have a contact, if you have someone that's brought you in for whatever you're doing, whatever, even if it's something that's your normal job, it's your normal environment that you created, and you feel that way, that you don't want to overstep people, that you just don't have a certain thing to bring to the table, go to your person and say, hey, is it my place to say this, that, the other, and communicate. I think, and a lot of what I've talked about, the topics, it comes down to communication. If you're not communicating, then you're not really diving deep into yourself, and you're not really giving yourself the ability to succeed. And so one thing I found, and I love collaborating with others. That's like a core thing of mine. But what I have found is that when I feel the imposter syndrome, or I feel like I'm not adequate enough, I have to push past it, because this is the thing. I was told this a long time ago, but it's like, if you're here, if you're in this space and someone's paying you, and someone, or even if it's you're in the room, that you're a professional. If you're there to do a job, and hey, this is what we want you to do, then that's their signing off on you being a professional. So now you need to give everything you have. You have the room to see it because you're there, you're bodily present, or you're actually being given money, or you're being resources to do your job. And I think we owe it to ourselves to push past the inadequacy feelings or the imposter syndrome and to do our best work. And a lot of times our best work is pushing past our normality. So there's roles that I've had to fulfill in certain environments I've traveled to that isn't my forte or isn't something that I practice daily. Like, a lot of the things that I've had to do on different sets and things like that I've been on is, have to kind of take command of things, or like try to help piece things together, or become something that I wasn't really brought there to do, but there's a lack of something. So I have to try to use the things in me that I've learned throughout other areas and fulfill those areas. Because if you don't stopgap some things, then your final project is going to be damaged. And I think that's the other thing too, is sometimes we will see roles that, we don't normally fill but aren't being filled, and we have knowledge to fill those roles, or we have knowledge to give to help the communication with that situation. And this goes into every area of being creative. And you may not feel like you're the one to do it, right? Because, well, I'm only good at XYZ. I'm not good at this. And I think what has happened too a lot of times is creatives don't know how to manage well. We don't know how to manage people. We don't know how to manage things around us. We don't know how to manage equipment well. I know a lot of creatives that are just like, just leave their cameras out, leave their equipment out, leave their, laptop open, and not being plugged in and charged, and then they come back and they got to edit something really quick and their laptop's dead and there's no, where they're going, there's no power outlets. So then it's like, oh no, what are we going to do? It's like, so I think we have to become good stewards of what we have, but also good stewards of the people around us, good stewards of the environments that we're in. And the reason I say all that is because I know the root of not being a good manager or not is because it's always someone else's job. It's always, well, that's someone else's job. But a lot of times I think we have to take on that responsibility as creatives, because a lot of times people above us and in the true managers, they don't know how to manage creativity. They don't know how to manage people in those situations. They don't know how to manage those situations, period. And so sometimes as creatives, we know how to manage. We just have to step out and actually do it. And I think it starts with managing ourselves. It starts with managing our own schedules. It starts with managing, honestly, our mental health, what we allow to affect ourselves, and what we allow and what we manage to affect our thinking about our own situation. Because a lot of times the reason you'll feel inadequate is because you've allowed things and you've mismanaged your feelings and you've mismanaged the things people have said about you and your craft. And you have maybe take offense to something that was just, it was more or less something that was meant to help critique you, and you took offense to it, and now it's caused this imposter syndrome or this inadequacy. And I know I'm kind of rambling with all this, but trying to tie it up in the sense of saying, look, as creatives, this is difficult, filling roles in places. And like I said, I can relate it to even where you're currently at. You may feel it might not just be if you go and do a job, a freelance job or something. Maybe it's where you're at. For me, it's been outside of where I'm at, because I think the places that I've worked where I've held a position, I think I've become too comfortable sometimes in those environments. And so I will just speak my mind and, and just deal with the consequences, because hey, I have a relationship with the person. If I say something to offend them, if I overreach, they'll just correct me and we'll just get past it. Right. But when you're outside of the place of safety, the place of home, the place of your job, you may feel inadequate or not feel like you can bridge the conversation, right? Because, if you're somewhere for 3 days and you say something a little edgy, or you maybe try to overstep someone to make things better, you're not going to be able to repair that relationship. You're never going to get asked back, and you're probably going to get bad reviews from somebody, right? So, but I know some people deal with this in their day-to-day job. They don't feel like they can repair the relationship, or they don't feel like, maybe the industry you're in as a creative isn't relationship based, right? Then, the fear of, well, I can't repair it if I do this, that. And I'm never saying that I overstep. I'm the biggest stay in your lane guy. that you'll find. I love staying in my lane and I love others staying in their lane so we can all do well together. But what I've noticed is sometimes there's things that you can do that you bring to the table that you can help in certain areas that isn't your specific lane. So all I'm saying is, you always make sure you follow protocol, right? So like when I went to make a suggestion recently about something in an environment that was new for me, I asked my contact, hey, I have this idea. Is it cool? Okay, yes, it is. Okay, would you like to present that to this person or should I? And I asked for permission and they said, oh, you present it. So, okay. So I waited for an opportunity and present, hey, okay, yeah, that's great. And so I submitted to the process and submitted to the person I'm under. But my thing is, I always now, after I've gotten out of the imposter syndrome, I've always had now the fear of not doing enough because I've now broken out of feeling like my voice should be muzzled because I know I have to let my product at the end be the best that it can. I would rather get in trouble in the moment for overstepping or maybe like trying to do too much and then at the end deliver a really good product and they go, well, I'm glad he overstepped, or at least I'm glad he was here. And the product and the thing that you finally bring to the table, that will then supersede the lines you may have blurred at the end of the day. And so that's it for today. And just, one of those things that's it's been on my mind, and it's something that I've had to learn how to kind of fine tune and walk in between the lines on. And, there's all kinds of different levels to this. I'm not saying just, go to your boss and be like, hey, I know better than you, but it's knowing when to make suggestions about certain things that are maybe out of your control, you feel, but you have a perspective on that hasn't been represent it. It's not to say that they're going to listen to you and take it, but it's just, at least you said something, at least you're opening the door for the conversation. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching today, and I will see you